Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered who you really are beneath all the layers you've built up over the years? I mean, really looked, not just checking your appearance, but staring into your own eyes and asking the uncomfortable question, is this authentic version of me, or am I performing for an audience that isn't even there? We all wear masks, every single one of us. The cheerful face we put on at work when we're dying inside. The confident persona we project on social media while we're drowning in self-doubt. The agreeable nature we display to avoid conflict, even when our souls are screaming in protest. These masks have become so sophisticated, so seamlessly integrated into our daily existence, that we've forgotten we're wearing them at all. But here's what's truly terrifying. We're not just hiding from others, we're hiding from ourselves. And that mask you think protects you, it's slowly suffocating the very person you were meant to become. My name is on a journey of understanding the human condition, and over the past several years, I've been obsessed with one question. Why do we spend so much energy pretending to be someone we're not? What I discovered will challenge everything you think you know about authenticity, self-acceptance, and what it truly means to be human in a world that rewards conformity over truth. In this video, I'm going to reveal the psychological mechanisms behind our mask-wearing behavior, show you how to identify the specific masks you've been wearing without even realizing it, and most importantly, guide you through the process of slowly, safely removing them. This isn't about becoming some raw, unfiltered version of yourself that alienates everyone around you. This is about finding the courage to be genuinely human in a world that's forgotten what that looks like. But before we dive deep into this uncomfortable territory, I need to warn you, once you start seeing these masks for what they are, you can't unsee them. Once you begin this process of authentic self-discovery, there's no going back to the comfortable illusion of who you thought you were. Some of you will find this liberating. Others will find it terrifying. Most of you will find it both. The reason this matters so much, the reason I've spent months researching and preparing this exploration, is because our masks aren't just personal problems, they're cultural epidemics. We're living in a society where everyone is performing a version of themselves that they think others want to see, while simultaneously feeling more isolated and disconnected than ever before. We're drowning in a sea of artificial connections, wondering why we feel so alone despite being more connected than any generation in human history. Think about your last conversation with someone. I mean, really think about it. How much of what you said was genuinely you? And how much was you playing a role? How much of your personality was authentic expression, and how much was carefully curated performance designed to maintain an image? If you're honest with yourself, the answer might be more disturbing than you'd like to admit. The masks we wear aren't random. They're not accidents. They're sophisticated psychological defense mechanisms that we've developed over years, sometimes decades, of learning how to survive in a world that punishes authenticity and rewards conformity. We learned early that being ourselves wasn't safe, that showing our true thoughts, feelings, and desires led to rejection, criticism, or worse. So we adapted. We created these elaborate personas that would protect us from the pain of being truly seen and potentially rejected. The problem is, these masks that were meant to protect us have become prisons that prevent us from experiencing genuine connection, real love, and authentic success. Let me paint you a picture of what I mean. Sarah is a successful marketing executive who's climbed the corporate ladder by being agreeable, diplomatic, and endlessly positive. She's the one everyone goes to when they need someone to smooth over conflicts or present bad news in a palatable way. She's built her entire professional identity around being the person who never rocks the boat, who always finds the silver lining, who makes everyone else feel comfortable. But here's what nobody knows. Sarah goes home every night feeling like she's been wearing a costume all day. She's exhausted from the constant performance of being perpetually optimistic. She has strong opinions about the direction her company should go, innovative ideas that could revolutionize their approach, and serious concerns about ethical issues she's witnessed. But she's never expressed any of these thoughts because they don't align with the pleasant, accommodating persona she's spent years perfecting. The mask of perpetual agreeableness has become so integrated into her identity that she's forgotten what her actual opinions are. She's lost touch with her own desires, her own values, her own voice. She's successful by external measures, but internally, she feels like she's disappearing. Or consider Michael, who's built his entire social identity around being the funny guy. He's the one who always has a joke ready, who can lighten any mood, who turns every serious conversation into an opportunity for humor. People love being around him because he makes them laugh and forget their problems. He's become addicted to the validation that comes from being the entertainer. But beneath the constant comedy routine, Michael is struggling with deep feelings of inadequacy and sadness. He uses humor as a shield to prevent anyone from getting too close to the real him. He's terrified that if people saw him without the jokes, without the performance, they'd find him boring, ordinary, or worse, broken. So he keeps performing, even when he's exhausted, even when he's hurting, even when what he really needs is for someone to see past the mask and ask how he's really doing. The tragedy is that both Sarah and Michael are surrounded by people, yet they're profoundly alone. They've become so skilled at playing their roles that they've forgotten who they are underneath. They've traded authenticity for acceptance. But the acceptance they've received isn't real because it's based on a performance, not on who they actually are. This is the insidious nature of our masks. They promise safety and acceptance, but they deliver isolation and disconnection. They promise to protect us from pain, but they prevent us from experiencing genuine joy. They promise to help us fit in, but they ensure we never truly belong anywhere because we're never truly ourselves anywhere. The most dangerous part of this whole dynamic is that we don't even realize it's happening. The masks become so seamlessly integrated into our personalities that we mistake them for our actual selves. We think the agreeable person is who we are. We think the perpetually funny person is our authentic self. We think the masks are us, but they're not. Underneath every mask is a human being with complex emotions, controversial opinions, uncomfortable truths, and messy contradictions. Underneath every performance is someone who's afraid of being rejected for who they really are. Underneath every persona is a soul that's hungry for authentic connection and genuine acceptance. The question isn't whether you wear masks. You do. We all do. The question is whether you're conscious of them, whether you're choosing them deliberately, or whether they're choosing you. The question is whether your masks are serving you or enslaving you. The question is whether you're ready to begin the uncomfortable but necessary process of slowly, carefully removing them. This journey we're about to embark on together isn't easy. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to sit with discomfort. It requires us to question everything we think we know about ourselves and to confront the possibility that much of what we consider our personality might actually be elaborate coping mechanisms. But here's what I promise you. On the other side of this process lies something extraordinary. A version of yourself that you've probably forgotten exists, a person who's capable of genuine connection, authentic success, and the kind of deep satisfaction that comes from being truly known and accepted for who you are. The process of removing these masks isn't like taking off a Halloween costume. It's more like peeling away layers of skin that have grown so thick you've forgotten there's anything underneath. It's archaeological work on your own soul, and what you'll discover might shock you. Let me share with you the 3 most common masks that virtually everyone wears, and more importantly, how to recognize when you're wearing them, because awareness is the first step toward liberation. The first mask is what I call the competence mask. This is the version of yourself that has everything figured out. The person who never admits confusion, never asks for help, never shows vulnerability. You've probably been wearing this mask so long that you've convinced yourself you actually are this invincible, all-knowing person. But here's the truth. Nobody has it all figured out. Nobody. The people who appear most confident are often the ones working hardest to hide their uncertainty. They've become addicted to the feeling of being needed, of being seen as the expert, of being the one others turn to for answers. But this addiction comes at a cost. When you wear the competence mask, you cut yourself off from learning, from growing, from receiving help when you desperately need it. You become isolated at the top of your own creation, surrounded by people who see you as a resource rather than a human being. You become the strong one, the reliable one, the one who never breaks down. But strength without vulnerability isn't strength at all. It's just another form of hiding. The second mask is the likability mask. This is perhaps the most insidious because it feels so positive, so noble. You've convinced yourself that being agreeable, that avoiding conflict, that making everyone else comfortable is a virtue. You've become a master of reading rooms, of saying what people want to hear, of morphing yourself into whatever shape the situation demands. But here's what you don't realize. When you make yourself agreeable to everyone, you become interesting to no one. When you have no edges, no strong opinions, no lines you won't cross, you become a blank canvas that others project their own needs onto. You become useful, but not memorable, pleasant, but not compelling. The person wearing the likability mask is often surrounded by people but feels profoundly misunderstood. They're invited to every party but never feel like they truly belong at any of them. They're everyone's friend but no one's best friend. They've traded their authentic self for universal acceptance, but the acceptance they receive feels hollow because it's based on a performance rather than reality. The third mask is the independence mask. This is the person who needs no one, who can handle everything alone, who's built their entire identity around self-reliance. You've convinced yourself that needing others is weakness, that vulnerability is dangerous, that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. This mask often develops as a response to early disappointment or betrayal. You learned that depending on others leads to pain, so you built walls so high that nothing can hurt you, but nothing can reach you either. You've become an island, proud of your self-sufficiency, but secretly dying of loneliness. The person wearing the independence mask achieves things, accomplishes goals, builds impressive lives. But they do it all alone. They celebrate their victories in empty rooms. They face their failures without comfort. They've protected themselves from the pain of disappointment, but they've also cut themselves off from the joy of genuine connection. Now here's where this gets really interesting. Most people aren't wearing just one mask. They're wearing multiple masks simultaneously, often contradictory ones. You might wear the competence mask at work while wearing the likability mask with friends and the independence mask in your romantic relationships. You've become a master of code switching, of becoming whoever you think each situation requires. But this constant shape-shifting is exhausting. It requires enormous mental energy to keep track of which version of yourself you're supposed to be in each context. You start to feel like a fraud, like you're living multiple lives with no coherent center. You begin to wonder if there's any authentic self left underneath all the performances. The tragic irony is that the very masks we wear to protect ourselves from rejection often guarantee that we'll never be truly accepted. When people only know our masks, they can only love our masks. And deep down, we know this. We know that the praise we receive, the relationships we build, the success we achieve while wearing these masks isn't really ours. It belongs to the character we're playing. This creates a vicious cycle. The more successful our masks become, the more terrified we become of removing them. We become prisoners of our own success, trapped in personas that worked so well we can't imagine life without them. We start to believe that our masks are more valuable than our authentic selves, that the performance is more lovable than the person. But here's something crucial I need you to understand. Your masks didn't develop in a vacuum. They're responses to real experiences, real pain, real threats. They served a purpose. They protected you when you needed protection. They helped you survive situations that might have been genuinely dangerous to your authentic self. The problem isn't that you developed these masks. The problem is that you've outgrown them, but you're still wearing them. You're still protecting yourself from threats that no longer exist. You're still hiding from people who might actually accept the real you. You're still performing for an audience that's changed, but you haven't updated your act. This is why removing masks isn't about judgment or criticism. It's about evolution. It's about recognizing that the strategies that got you here might not be the strategies that will get you where you want to go. It's about having the courage to outgrow your own coping mechanisms. The question you need to ask yourself isn't whether your masks are good or bad. The question is whether they're still serving you or whether you're serving them. Are you choosing your masks consciously, or are they choosing you? Are you the director of your own performance, or have you become trapped in a play someone else wrote? The process of removing these masks isn't about suddenly becoming completely unfiltered or abandoning all social awareness. It's about conscious choice rather than unconscious compulsion. It's about responding from your authentic self rather than reacting from your protective personas. Here's how you begin this delicate process. First, you must develop what I call mask consciousness. Start paying attention to the moments when you feel yourself shifting into a different version of yourself. Notice the physical sensations that accompany these shifts. Your shoulders might tense when you put on the competence mask. Your voice might change when you slip into the likability mask. Your chest might tighten when you armor yourself with the independence mask. These physical cues are your body's way of telling you that you're moving away from your authentic self. They're early warning systems that you've probably been ignoring for years. Start listening to them. They're more reliable than your thoughts, which have been trained to rationalize your mask-wearing behavior. Second, begin practicing what I call micro-authenticity. These are small moments where you choose to respond from your genuine self rather than your protective persona. Maybe it's admitting you don't know something when you usually pretend to have all the answers. Maybe it's expressing a dissenting opinion when you usually just agree to keep the peace. Maybe it's asking for help when you usually insist you can handle everything alone. These moments will feel terrifying at first. Your nervous system will interpret authenticity as danger because it's unfamiliar. You'll want to retreat back to your masks because they feel safer. But safety isn't the goal here. Growth is the goal. Connection is the goal. Aliveness is the goal. Third, you must learn to tolerate the discomfort of being truly seen. When you remove your masks, people will see parts of you that you've kept hidden. Some will accept these parts, others won't. This is perhaps the hardest truth about authenticity. Not everyone will like the real you, but here's the paradox. The people who reject your authentic self were never really your people anyway. They were only connected to your performance. The relationships you build from authenticity might be fewer, but they'll be infinitely more satisfying. You'll trade quantity for quality, breadth for depth, performance for presence. You'll discover what it feels like to be loved for who you are rather than who you pretend to be. Fourth, you must practice what I call compassionate self-archaeology. As you dig beneath your masks, you'll discover the wounds that created them. You'll find the scared child who learned that being themselves wasn't safe. You'll uncover the teenager who was rejected for their authentic expression. You'll face the adult who chose safety over truth. Don't judge these discoveries. Don't shame yourself for developing these protective mechanisms. They were necessary responses to real circumstances. Honor them for the protection they provided while recognizing that you've outgrown them. The goal isn't to become someone new. The goal is to become who you've always been underneath all the layers of protection. You're not creating an authentic self. You're uncovering one. You're not learning to be genuine. You're remembering how. This process takes time. Years, perhaps decades of conditioning can't be undone in a weekend workshop or a single moment of insight. But every small step toward authenticity is a victory. Every moment you choose truth over performance is a revolution in miniature. You'll make mistakes. You'll go too far in one direction and have to course correct. You'll remove masks prematurely and have to put them back on temporarily. You'll discover that some masks serve legitimate purposes and should be worn consciously rather than discarded entirely. This isn't about becoming some idealized version of authenticity. It's about becoming more conscious, more intentional, more alive. It's about moving from reactive to responsive, from unconscious to aware, from performing to being. The world needs your authentic self, not another performance, not another perfectly curated version of humanity, but the messy, complex, contradictory, beautiful reality of who you actually are. Your masks might be impressive, but they're not irreplaceable. Your authentic self is. The journey from mask-wearing to authentic living isn't comfortable, but it's necessary. It's the difference between existing and living, between surviving and thriving, between being liked and being loved. So I'll leave you with this question. If you knew that the people meant to be in your life would accept your authentic self, and the people not meant to be in your life would reject it anyway, what would you choose? Would you continue hiding behind masks that promise safety but deliver isolation? Or would you find the courage to slowly, carefully remove them and discover who you really are underneath? The choice is yours. The mask is yours to wear or remove. The life you build from that choice is yours to live. But remember, the world already has enough performers. What it desperately needs is more human beings willing to be genuinely, courageously, authentically themselves. The question isn't whether you'll ever be ready to remove your masks. The question is whether you're ready to start noticing you're wearing them. That awareness alone is the beginning of everything.